Hey everyone, this is Rodrigo Severa with EasyLearnTutorial.com, and this is tutorial number 24 of our series called Web Programming Step by Step, where we're learning JavaScript. And this is part number 2 of our tutorial where we're programming a simple version of artificial intelligence just to illustrate basic principles of JavaScript. And this particular tutorial, we're making a simple version of HAL 9000 from the movie 2001 A Space Odyssey. And the point of it is for you to be able to, kind of like Siri, how you can ask him or her questions and the program will respond and talk to you and so on and so forth. Obviously, this is going to be a really simple version. It's not going to be as functional. But two things I want to show you, and let me go to the code. This is the initialization code we had from last tutorial. Two things I want to emphasize in this tutorial. Very important. Number one, it's like important points. Number one is that using the basic principles we've talked about, I'll just summarize this, using basic concepts of programming, we can program awesome stuff. So at this point, there's not really a ton more that I can teach you, and there's not a ton more for you to learn. Obviously, there's always a lot of stuff to learn, but the foundation is what we already talked about: variables, conditionals, types, data types, functions, loops, stuff like that. Beyond that, there's really not a whole lot. If you learn a new language, you're not going to learn theory-wise not a whole lot more than we already discussed. And the second thing I want to talk about is that there's always many ways to solve a problem. So in this example, we're trying to simulate artificial intelligence. There are many ways to do this, and there always will be. There's not necessarily one right answer. There's obviously a lot of wrong answers if it doesn't even work, but there's a lot of ways. So the key behind this whole thing is being creative. So we're going to explore different techniques to do this, and we're just going to be creative, use the basic concepts, and hopefully we're going to have fun. So the first thing I want to do is just create a function that will capture the input. So when people start typing over here, it's like hello, it will capture input from HAL. So I'll just say take input, and this will take an element that will be let me think how to do it. Yeah, it would just take an input, maybe just a text field is what it would take. And we're going to call this guy, and I'll be putting comments so it's easier to follow. Takes input from input type equals text. That's what this function does. So what we're going to do down here is register the on key up event. We will call take input. And the output, we also want a function. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So we're going to take a function that displays output. And this will be a function, and I'll just call it display output. And it will take a message as well as an output source, or like a destination. So I'll just call it out dest. And this will basically say, and I won't call out, I'll just call it dest. It's like the destination. So it's like param message is a string, a message to be displayed, and then param dest is an HTML element, and this is where a message is to be displayed. And this function, the param text field, is an HTML element that is where input is being taken from. So this will help us 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 10 years from now. If we look at the code, these comments will help us. And if we have other programmers working on this with us, you don't have to spend a lot of time explaining stuff. They can just read the comments. So this, for now, it would just say inner HTML equals message. Yeah. The difference between inner HTML and inner text is that inner HTML, if we send in like a string like this that has HTML tags as part of it, then it will become HTML if we set it to inner HTML. If we just set it as inner text, then it will display the actual tag instead of the text. So so far, let's just run through here and test this thing. So far we have on key up on the input, it will call take input. And what we're going to do is just basically say var, and this is like the question we're asking, is the text field dot value. And what we're going to do is say display output, and we're displaying our question and the destination. So take input, the destination needs to be this guy out, and it's a global variable. I know. We'll just go with this for now and then try to find a better solution later. But I don't want to just display right now. It just displays the text. Looks like I'm doing something wrong. Taking input is being called right away. It looks like. Of course, so take key up, input, and text. So this is being undefined, and it looks like we also have an exception. Looks like we don't. Question out. Okay, so obviously we have a bug straight up. Let's debug it. Console.log question and text field. Okay, sorry, I figured it out. So this doesn't take anything. This is a text field because it's being sent from the onKey event. So this should just be this. This is what the key event, the text field, is what triggers this. So its value is found under this. So now things should work just fine. So if we say hello, it would just type in real time. And what we want to do is similar to the last tutorial. We only want to actually send our question when we press enter. So if you remember, this will send an event. So it should be event.which equals 13 is key enter. So we'll just say, and actually what we're going to do is just say if e.which is not equals 13, we're just going to return false. So otherwise, if we get to this point, if we haven't returned yet, it's because the key pressed was number 13. So the only time we're going to talk to how is when we press enter. And just like last time, after we press enter and things process, we want to focus the text and to select it. So we can say hello and be ready to say something else. And one thing I just realized, we're erasing everything as we type. We want it to continue to display line after line. So display output, maybe what we want to say is append output. We'll just rename this function. And then we're going to say plus equals is the message. So if we say test and then test again and hi, it would just keep appending text to this thing. And in order to make it show with proper formatting, we can just send HTML to this function like that. So we say hello, and then we say hi, and we say how are you. It will show in different lines. And every time we write, we also want to say a human is saying something like that. And maybe I'll change this to a right quote, and maybe put a space after it. So now we can say hello, and it will say human. It said that, and that's a pretty good start. Next thing we're going to do in the next tutorial is, well, before we get to the next tutorial, let's make a function real fast that will, we'll say process input, like that, and this function will return the answer. And we'll create a variable called answer, and for now it would just say I don't know. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the input, instead of actually appending the input right away. Let me think. Yeah, we'll just do that for now. That's fine. Before we return, what we're going to do is append output, and this will be what Hal will say, and what Hal is going to say is process input. And process input, for now it won't take any arguments, but obviously we're going to be passing in the question and I'll just do that right now. Why not? So it takes a question and it just ignores the question and it says I don't know. And so if we run our program, we say who are you, and he says I don't know. And then we say why not, and he says I don't know. So he's kind of an annoying guy. And one final thing I want to do just to make this easier to read is we're going to append an HR to out. So we say what's up, and he says I don't know, and then we divide the line right here. So next time when we say what, he says I don't know. Yeah, that looks good enough for now. So next tutorial we're actually going to take the input and try to process and see what it's saying, so we can make a response that is based on the question being asked. So check out the next tutorial. Ask your questions about this tutorial in the comment section, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you very much.